You're listening to Radio Free America, where the truth shall set you free. You know, I found online a great short clip from Clarence Thomas that was put there by the great Ted Cruz. And this is it's just a very short clip from 2007. And in times like this, when people are trying to sort out truth from fiction and facts from propaganda, you need to have the courage to stand up and speak for yourself. Now, it's not hard for me. I've got multiple platforms with multi-millions of listeners. Marjorie Taylor Greene is demanding that Fox fire me today. She better hope that they don't. And, of course, they won't. The whole world knows she's a fool and a buffoon. She's the one who famously said, Iran never killed an American. She should be walking around with a bag over her head for a lot of reasons, but that one in particular. And so I've anointed her the dumbest person in the House of Representatives. And that, let me tell you something, that's an achievement. It's a big achievement. Here's what Clarence Thomas said at the Heritage Foundation in 2007. Words to the wise. Cut one, go.
You can be in the middle of a hurricane, or you can be on a calm day. North is still north. You could be in a thunderstorm. North is still north. People can yell at you. North is still north. It doesn't change fundamental things. And in this business, right is still right, even if you stand by yourself.
Never forget that. It's very, very important. Right is still right, even if you stand by yourself. Right is still right. Of course, I stand with millions and millions of you. I want to talk about what happened today relating to when the president went to the helicopter. I want to talk about the ceasefire and things of that sort. But first, it's very important that we understand our history, even recent history, because we don't learn from it. It's very important that we understand who the fraudsters are, who the grifters are. It's very important because at a time like this, when we are literally facing enemy within, enemy without, whether they be Islamist terrorists, whether they be Islamist terrorist groups or states, whether they be Marxist countries like North Korea and China, whether they be fascist regimes like Russia under the former colonel of the KGB, Putin. The isolationists either outright support these entities or they give them aid and comfort. These are very dangerous times. And with the new media, it doesn't take much for basically anybody to have a platform and to give aid and comfort to the enemy. I never want you to forget that when Donald Trump was contemplating what to do about these nuclear sites, he came under brutal attack by the isolationists, by Chatsworth Qatarlson, by Bannon, a fraudster, by Marjorie Taylor Greene, a buffoon, and many others. They attacked President Trump, even though they have grifted off of him, even though Bannon got a pardon from him. That wasn't good enough for Bannon. Even though Chatsworth Qatarlson has had to apologize to our president repeatedly because the trust fund baby prep boy really is a strange dude. And it goes on. So we're going to put this in context because, again, it's important. At a time like this, when we're facing enemies, foreign and domestic, that we know who stands with you, we the people, the American people, and it sure as hell ain't them, when 80% or more of the American people wanted something done about those nuclear sites, and Donald Trump did it, for which he should get the Nobel Peace Prize. Here's a post. Mark Levin was at the White House today lobbying for war with Iran. To be clear, Levin has no plans to fight in this or any other war. He's demanding that American troops do it. Of course, none of that is true. None of it. We need to stop Iran from building nuclear weapons, he and like-minded ideologues in Washington are now arguing. They're just weeks away. If this sounds familiar, it's because the same people have been making the same claims since at least the 1990s. It's a lie. In fact, there's zero credible intelligence that suggests Iran is anywhere near building a bomb, or has plans to. None. Anyone who claims otherwise is ignorant or dishonest. All right. President, Vice President, Secretary of State, Secretary of Defense, the Joint Chiefs of Staff, the CIA Director, but let's put them aside for now. If the U.S. government knew Iran was weeks from possessing a nuclear weapon, we'd be at war already. Iran knows this, which is why they aren't building one. You see what I mean? This guy's Tokyo Rose in many ways, except Tokyo Rose actually was part of the enemy in Japan. Qatarlson, he's right here in the United States, in a hovel in Maine or some other place, hiding out. Iran knows this, which is why they're not building one. Iran also knows it's unwise to give up its weapons program entirely. Now, look, I'm not going to explain again and again the incoherence of this. So it doesn't have one, but it knows why it's unwise to give one up. This is what I mean. It must have been late at night, happy hour. Muammar Gaddafi tried that and wound up sodomized with a bayonet. As soon as Gaddafi disarmed, NATO killed him. NATO never killed him. Many years later, his people killed him. This is what I mean, the hate America first crowd. Iran's leaders saw that happen. They learned the obvious lesson. So why is Mark Levin once again hyperventilating about weapons of mass destruction? I'm not hyperventilating about anything. Taking the evidence that's presented by our government, the Trump administration, to distract you from the real goal, which is regime change, young Americans heading back to the Middle East to topple yet another government. Virtually no one will say this out loud. America's record of overthrowing foreign leaders. Okay, nobody said it out loud because it's a lie. I can't even count the number of lies I just mentioned in the first three paragraphs. This is important. Accountability is important. Virtually no one will say this out loud. America's record of overthrowing foreign leaders is so embarrassingly counterproductive that regime change has become a synonym for disaster. I thought we sent bombers over there, Mr. Producer, to knock out their nuclear sites. Did we send any troops? Officially, no one supports it, so instead of telling the truth about their motives, they manufacture hysteria. Quote, a country like Iran can never have the bomb. They'll nuke Los Angeles. We have to act now. There's a very serious problem with these sites. Nobody's denied it except the isolationists. These are damnable, dangerous people. They don't really mean this, and you can tell they don't by what they omit. At least two of Iran's neighbors, both Islamic nations, already have nuclear weapons. Now, I looked on a map. I see Pakistan. They have a nuclear weapon. And there's Afghanistan. They don't. So I don't know what he's talking about. But they get in Qatarlson. That fact should scare the hell out of Mark Levin. Now, keep in mind, I never mentioned this clown. That fact should scare the hell out of Mark Levin, yet for some reason he never mentions it. How come? Well, let's see. Has Pakistan threatened to blow us off the face of the earth? Is Pakistan not an ally, even an uncomfortable one? This guy is a lunatic because it's not the weapons he hates. It's the ideology of the Iranian government. That's true. I do hate that. The Islamist ideology is the jihadis is horrible, but apparently Tucker does not. That's key. It goes without saying that there are very few Trump voters who'd support a regime change war in Iran. Donald Trump has argued loudly against reckless lunacy like this. Well, where is this coming from? Since he doesn't know what I discussed with Donald Trump. He got a leak. And I know where it came from, but I'm going to help protect his sorry ass. Trump ran for president as a peace candidate. A peace candidate, not a death candidate. Peace does not mean never using military action. That's what made him different from conventional Republicans. It's why he won. Actually, he won more over immigration, but dim-wittedness is not something that Tucker can escape. A war with Iran would amount to a profound betrayal of his supporters. It would end his presidency. That may explain why so many of Trump's enemies are advocating for it. It would end his presidency? A war with Iran? What war? End his presidency? It was backed by 80% of Republicans. Then there's the question of war itself. Iran may not have nukes, but it has a fearsome arsenal of ballistic missiles, many of which are aimed at U.S. military installations in the Gulf, as well as our allies and at critical energy infrastructure. I don't believe they fired a single one outside of Israel. Did they, Mr. Producer? Listen to this. The first week of a war with Iran could easily kill thousands of Americans. It could also collapse our economy. As surging oil prices trigger unimaginable inflation, consider the effects of $30 gasoline. Oil prices went down. But the second week of the war could be even worse. Iran isn't Iraq or Libya or even North Korea. While it's often described as a rogue state, Iran has powerful allies. It's now part of a global bloc called BRICS. That's an economic association, moron, which represents the majority of the world's landmass, population, economy. Brazil and India, among other countries, belong to it. Iran has extensive military ties with Russia. It sells the overwhelming majority of its oil exports to China. Iran isn't alone. An attack on Iran could very easily become a world war, and we'd lose. What do you think, folks? None of these are far-fetched predictions, says Qatarlson. Most of them comport with the Pentagon's own estimates. No, they don't. Many Americans would die during a war with Iran. People like Mark don't seem to care about this. It's not relevant to them. Instead, they insist that Iran give up all uranium enrichment, regardless of its purpose. This guy is really bad news. What was its purpose in those mountains that required our bunker buster bombs? What were the purpose? To put the lights on in Iran? That's what he wanted you to believe. They know perfectly well that Iran will never accept that demand. They'll fight first, and of course that's the whole point of pushing for it, to box the Trump administration into a regime change in Iran. Well, it doesn't seem to work, does it, Mr. Producer? The only two people talking about regime change were him and the president recently, and he's dismissed it. One thing that people like Mark Levin don't want is a peaceful solution to the problem of Iran, despite the obvious benefits to the United States. They denounce anyone who advocates for a deal as a traitor and a bigot. They'll tell us with a straight face that Long Island native Steve Witkoff is a secret tool of Islamic monarchies. Nobody has said that. They'll say or do whatever it takes. They have no limits. These are scary people. Pray that Donald Trump ignores them. Now, here's a man that has not only no judgment, no context, no circumspection. He's a nut. Every single thing he said there is a lie. Every single one. Every single one. So why did he say it? He put it out publicly. Why did he say it? Here's the National Security Journal. Complicit in war, Tucker Carlson blasts Trump over Iran attack. Tucker Carlson has publicly blasted President Trump over Israel's recent air assault on Iran, accusing Trump of being complicit in the act of war, quote-unquote, due to longstanding U.S. military support for Israel. He also said we should drop Israel, of course. That's why I call him Qatarlson. In his June 13th newsletter, Carlson argued that America First politicians cannot disavow involvement in the attack. Trump, in a subsequent interview with The Atlantic, dismissed Carlson's criticisms, asserting his ownership of the America First slogan and arguing that you can't have peace if Iran has a nuclear weapon. And it goes on. Tucker Carlson versus Donald Trump. Tucker Carlson has a long, vile, vicious history of trashing Donald Trump.